Beautiful, beautiful. So, welcome everyone to another podcast. I would like to say, master your emotion and find your own truth. And like I've been just only carry on the speak your own truth, but also I just only add as well, live with that own truth as well. So today is the number 49. I'm just only choosing the specific guest to my podcast. So my number is like a specific number because always at the beginning, I'm just only giving the introduction for the people who are watching us, my audience, about the angelic number because I love working with the angels. So the 49 is the beautiful number because that's give you the stability, number 4. And number 9 is giving you that competition. So everything, trust yourself, the angels saying, and follow your intuition. God's, I don't know, whatever you would like to name it. So always follow your own truth and speak with your own truth and much more. So I'm not going to talk to my audience more because they need to go and find their own truth by themselves straight away. I'm so excited. So my tongue is like a tangle today because I was waiting 2 months for this interview. I was thinking, oh my God, maybe they forgot about me. Anyway, actually I was thinking yesterday I was thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't receive any information back. And by the way, when I finished my own podcast, because I was a guest yesterday in somebody else's podcast, and when I finished, I received that information. I was like, over the moon. So welcome warmly today. My guest is Dr. Brian Ardis. I would like to give you a little bit description, but also I would like to ask him, maybe he can tell us a little bit more about himself. But definitely what I would like to say, he's a chiropractic and also definitely nutritions. And what I just only found yesterday that was so beautiful. And I found the Instagram that was a labs. Would you mind just only help me and support me with that? Can you say something about yourself? By the way, welcome warmly on my podcast.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and thank you for having us on. And proud of anybody who actually takes the time to create a podcast to provide truth, uh, inspiration, and guidance to how to improve their lives. So I'm assuming that's what your platform is for. And bring on the angels. I love being episode number 49. That's exciting. All right. My name is Dr. Brian Ardis. I am a retired chiropractor, acupuncturist, and nutritionist. I actually retired in 2018 after having 2 very successful practices in the United States, in the state of Tennessee and Texas. I'm in Dallas, Texas now. Most of the world knows me as the remdesivir guy, the snake venom guy, or the nicotine guy. The truth is, I'm a father of 5 kids. I'm a husband. We together have 8 children. We have 3 son-in-laws and 2 grandchildren. So that is who I am. And I also am the host of the Dr. Ardis Show. You can learn more about that at thedrardisshow.com. We have millions of downloads every month and every week on all the different podcasts I do. I do a once a week show where I actually break down what are the deceptions in medicine related to anything in health, and then what are the natural antidotes and solutions we find in nature and energetically, even spiritually, to whatever it is you're suffering with. So those are the discussions you'll find at the Dr. Ardis Show if you're interested in that. I'm also the CEO of a company called Ardis Labs. We design our own nutritional supplements. It will very soon change names to Nature Wins, which is going to be very exciting, but it's everything natural. And this was actually birthed, the entire company was birthed out of supply chain issues during COVID. So that's the only reason why I launched it. And I just happened to put my name on it because it was my company, but it really is something that has grown and scaled as a reaction to people around the world, actually resonating with the messages I was providing, circulating around remdesivir, the hospital protocols. Actually in England, I was actually asked to virtually testify before the King's Court in Parliament. I actually told the individuals, I'm not going to do that because I'm not waking up at 3 a.m. Just take this recording and play it for 7 minutes of that actual opportunity. So they did that, and that was awesome. But I've actually a part of several, I was actually listed as an expert witness twice on lawsuits against Boris Johnson. Actually, 2 lawsuits with my name on it landed on his desk the day before he resigned. So there was a lot of pressure coming from all around the world. There's a lot of misconceptions, deceptions, and a lot of evilness going on around the world. And I've done my best to try to articulate those to the audiences to help you make sense of the world around you. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I love the number 8. That's an infinite number. That's a beautiful number. When you said about the children, you've got the 8 beautiful angels around you and surrounding you. So you're
Thank
just only
you.
floating each day, like saying, I know maybe that's not seems like that, but definitely they are the angels. And
It's
I
actually how I
would
feel every day. Thank you.
yeah, that's true. So definitely I would like to just only begin around the mind body spirit, because I love the mind body spirit anyway. That's my book is also called like that. But the mind body spirit, because that is how we need to look after ourselves, and that's we need to bring the harmony and our own beautiful head. So can you just only tell a little bit more and just only maybe support my audience how they can look after mind, body, and their soul a little bit? Of course, talking to from the perspective, just only not separating anything.
Yeah, this is actually a great topic, and I've loved it for years. I actually learned about 15 years ago that emotions, for example, even traumatic events can create lasting negative impressions on us physically. There is absolutely a mental, emotional, and physical and spiritual aspect to our lives. The spiritual is one of my favorite. And each of us, I truly believe, our spirits were created by God, our bodies were created by God, and the two together make up a soul. And this experience we live on earth, the more centered our lives are and the balance we have between the respect and reverence for the physical, for the emotional, and for the spiritual, the better the quality of our life is going to be. What I've personally found is that there are absolutely things that the physical body requires in order to have a high quality of life that would actually demand high quality water, air, and food. Those are the basic things that make up a very healthy physical structure. When it comes to emotions, in our minds, we have something called the subconscious, and it is separate from what is called the conscious mind. And the subconscious mind actually stores all of our memories and all of our emotional burdens and traumas.
Mhm.
And those emotional stored burdens have an impact on us physically. That is actually called psychosomatic. So there is negative things that happen in the mind that create physical symptoms in the body. And there are lots of people who are struggling to actually understand that there is absolutely an underlying previous trauma emotionally that is still making them sick today. So there are a couple things I'll just throw out there that I have found. I truly use these every single day. I actually use 2 books that have information in them that have actually provided me and patients around the world how to release negative emotions and analyze for various traumas that may have occurred that may be creating the scenario you find yourself in now, whether it's a physical problem, an emotional depressive moment, or an angry moment. There's actually triggers that are stored in the mind. And there's 2 books I've used for over 20 years now and educated patients on and used. First one is Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And this is a book written by Carol Trueman. Now, Carol Trueman is a psychotherapist, and for over 30 years, she actually was making notes of every single patient who came to her practice. And as they would tell them what emotional upsets were occurring in their life, she would also ask them, well, what physical things do you struggle with? And she would note them all. And then she put together, after 30 years of practice, she saw a correlation was happening between almost anybody with a physical problem and a very similar emotional experience at the time of these symptoms. So, for example, she categorizes these all throughout the book. She found there is a commonality between all people who have low back pain in any given moment. Every single person she ever saw that had a physical low back pain complaint actually had an upset around finances. So they were either going through a divorce, had lost a job, had reduced salaries, or had a big expense in their life that was unexpected. In every case, when the financial issue was handled, their back pain would disappear. This is just an example. And I only bring that up because did you know that right now the #1 cause for admittance into a hospital in an emergency room still to this day is low back pain? All right. Well, if more people are going to hospitals for low back pain, you might just want to take a look at your financial situation and actually learn more about finances and get more comfortable discussing finances and learning why it is you may have issues with finances as a whole. Then you get to the spiritual realm, and I want to talk to this. I absolutely believe that there is a God that exists, and there are spiritual entities and angels in our own spirits that God has given us. And those spirits absolutely can influence us in the positive. And then there's demonic forces that can actually do just the opposite. So I personally like staying in the light and not toying with the darkness, which is why I became a public speaker in the first place 4 years ago, when I saw a whole lot of darkness and lies being promoted and marketed throughout the world in relationship to a bat virus called COVID-19. So in the realm of spirituality, I just want to tell you and your audiences, and maybe they'll find this of value. There is a book 20 years ago. People have asked me nonstop, how do I stay so centered when there's so much ugliness, so much writing in the mainstream media about me? I mean, the USA Today articles, New York Times, the Associated Press, they've all written hit pieces on me 24/7. It doesn't matter. I will continue to show you the evidence that I'm right and that you need to know the truth. So people always ask me, how do I stay so level-headed? I actually didn't realize I was doing this growing up, but I read a book by Don Miguel Ruiz years ago titled The Four Agreements. And he said there's these four things, if everybody does it. And one of them I knew I did very well my whole life. And I actually stayed very happy and didn't dig down too much actually ever spiritually. This one principle of the four is don't take anything personally, ever. Like, don't ever take anything personally. Well, people are, just weighted down with self-judgment, shame, guilt, because they're taking things personally that they don't need to. And I have really appreciated Ruiz's writing of this book, The Four Agreements, to help me understand and conceptualize that this is how I actually find myself living my own life. And if I continued understanding just things are happening in life, people are doing whatever they do for any given reason, don't take it personal. And I have found that has been a huge benefit to me spiritually. Then I want to also say, I spend time alone, breathing, communicating with who I believe is God above, and I stay in constant communication with them, but I have to take quiet time to do that every single day. And there are ways to keep yourself grounded and connected to source, which is what I try to do every single day. And then there are things inherently that we've been blessed with that are our common values only to us. And for me, I have very specific values that are unique to me. And I actually had to learn these over time. And as long as I surround myself, involving myself in these three things every day, and you all have unique things that are unique to you, that you value, that I don't, that you do, the more you do those things, the happier you're going to be, the more spiritually uplifted you're going to feel, the more rewarded you're going to feel, the more success you're going to feel. It's just a fulfillment thing that occurs when you stick to your core values. My core values are spending time with my children, doing research and teaching. Those are my three values. So as long as I keep those things balanced in my life, I have a very fruitful spiritual experience. And then, of course, I spend time with God above and continue to trust on him and rely on him for guidance and intuition.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing those books, because that's really value. That's really, I would like to say, that will be really useful if somebody listening us would like to just go much more deeper. Yeah, that's definitely, because some people just will be just listening and we're going to planting the seeds. But anyway, that's good, because save one soul, one time, one day. That's my mission. So sometimes there are lots of people around me. Just only if I'm recording myself, I'm just only see one human on the other side on the screen. I'm saying it's okay. There's only one soul. Whoever knows, because that soul is going to meet another soul, another, and that would be contagious. I would like to say contagious with a good energy. So that's my value. But coming back, I need to say that because I was recording myself 2 days ago on the Instagram. I was so laughing. I was so happy. And that frequency was surrounded by me. And then I received a comment below and somebody told me, please don't drink any more alcohol before you are recording that podcast. I said, oh my goodness, what are people just only thinking? That's my nature, that's my own state. By the way, I didn't do this personally, I was laughing. So all the time I just only changing and reframe it, that word for my good, for my highest. Anyway.
I love that you can do that. That is wonderful.
Yeah, because every time when I had a low mood, I'm saying, oh my goodness, that guy said that like that. Okay, so I need to, maybe I'm not going to start drinking before the podcast, but definitely he just only makes me laugh. Coming back to the speaking the own truth. So how we need to, or maybe you can bring the experience from your life, how to speak their own truth, and that own truth is not affecting your mental and physical or emotional state of the living. because I know you just only had a beautiful, I would like to say beautiful awakening time a few years ago, and that was impacting your lifetime, definitely, and your change, definitely your perspective. And like, anyway, I'm going to give you the way. What would you like to share with my audience?
Yeah. So speaking from your truth, I will just tell you life is so much better every day that you speak and share information with others that is truth. And I want to say one thing in general about truth. Every philosopher on earth, even modern day philosophers, will tell you. How will you know if someone is speaking truth to you? It is simple to understand. Now, this is extremely important. How many
Mm.
things have you listened to that seem very mysterious, really complex, and you don't understand it? That's because it's not based in truth. So I've actually spent a lot of time educating myself on how to listen to people well and articulate back to them what they said to me so that I could make whatever they're saying to me aware to them that it is true. I understand them. So, from a speaker's perspective, when it got into COVID-19 and all the stuff I've learned and uncovered along the way, I've made sure that I could articulate the truths as I could understand them so that it could make sense to you. And I have heard people nonstop. I don't know how spiritual this audience is. I cannot tell you, but I will tell you, I can't tell you the numbers, but I've had people since 2007 at every event I've ever done, I've ever spoken to, even with my patients, they would actually walk up to me and say, every time you would start speaking during a Q&A, when I would answer a question, as I would answer them, they would see this white light come from my body. And then they would see this angel come above my right shoulder, a white one, and then go back down whenever I would stop talking. And these people would constantly come up to me and say, I see this white light. We know when you're speaking truth because we can see the aura of either an angel or your own.
Mm.
And if it's beaming white, we know you're speaking truth. Now, this is something I don't perceive. I've never worked to learn how to see this, but it has been miraculous over the last 4 years to have people constantly come up to me and say, this is one way we recognize you're speaking truth. Well, another thing, just so you know, once you actually can use reason and logic, all truth is logical, all truth makes sense. If you can't make sense of something that someone has told you, it is most likely not true. It is just something said. So remember this, all philosophers say anything spoken that is true, you know will be true because it is easy to understand. Okay, great. So let's help you understand something here, shall we? Shall I give a truth? Let's see if people can understand it. All
Yeah.
right. Every single one of us have been lied to for the last 30 years, starting with the FDA in the United States. In fact, the UK and the European countries started repeating the same lie that was told in 1994 by the United States Food and Drug Administration. In August of 1994, the FDA decided, after listening to testimony in Congress in the United States under oath and knowing they would commit perjury if they lied, they asked every CEO of the 7 largest tobacco giants to come into Congress in the United States and testify under oath. Is nicotine addictive or not? All 7 of them, knowing they were just told orally that they are threatened with perjury and jail time, each of them raised their hand and professed that nicotine is not addictive. 4 months later, in August of 1994, the FDA comes out and says, you know what? We don't care what they said. We're going to tell you all this. Nicotine is addictive. Now, we've also been told nonstop that nicotine is addictive. It's also a cancer-causing agent. It causes diseases. It leads to, if you use it, it leads to Parkinson's, MS, all kinds of problems, Alzheimer's, you name it. Well, the truth is the FDA lied to you. The truth is the governments around the world have lied to you this whole time. In fact, the FDA decided in the United States in the 1990s to make nicotine, which is found in plants called the tobacco plant, they decided to label this and register it as a drug. However, everyone listening to this podcast, I need to let you know something. Nicotine is not addictive. Now, that may sound odd, but now I'm going to give you the truth. And this should be very easy for you to understand, and you will know this is the case. Nicotine inside of tobacco plants, I believe, was put there by God or Mother Nature, or whoever you want to say. It put it in that plant. Man did not. God or nature just put the nutrient called nicotine in those plants. However, I want you to know something, UK and the rest of the world. You've all been lied to. I've been lied to. Did you know, or has your medical doctor or healthcare professionals or any health agency in the whole world, have they ever come out and told you to avoid tobacco because it has nicotine in it? The answer will be yes. Well, has these same organizations come out and told you that this same substance, nicotine, which is supposedly highly addictive, have any of them ever told you that nicotine is not only high in tobacco, it is also high in every eggplant you've ever eaten? And have they told you that it's high in every tomato you've ever eaten? And did you know the fourth highest amount of nicotine found on earth is in white potatoes? Now, for summary, just to help you remember this, did you know potato chips are made from white potatoes? And have you ever eaten a potato chip that's made from potatoes? If you did, you're eating nicotine. Have you ever eaten a French fry? Those are made from white potatoes. Every time you've given your kid or yourself white potatoes or French fries or mashed potatoes or potato chips, you're eating nicotine.
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten zucchini, cauliflower, celery, bell peppers? All of these have nicotine in them. Do you know how much nicotine's in each one of those? And how come the world hasn't told you to avoid all those veggies because it has nicotine in it? And how many of you have ever heard of, wait, let's just ask the audience. Let's let them think about this. Have you ever eaten cauliflower in your whole life, or celery, or tomatoes, or eggplants, or white potatoes? And then I'd like to ask you, how many of you have ever woken up with night sweats because you haven't had celery or bell peppers that day and you're low on nicotine addiction? None of you have ever been addicted to a vegetable. None of you have ever asked your boss at work for a celery or cauliflower break because you ate those foods at a church function the day before. No one's ever asked that. Nicotine is not addictive. You've all been lied to. I've been lied to. I know it's not addictive because I eat those foods and I'm not addicted to those foods. You will now know you're not addicted either. And there are various amounts of nicotine in each of these plants. Well, if you're not addicted to those plants and they have nicotine, why would you be addicted to tobacco plants that also has nicotine? Well, here's the truth. The University of Harvard in 2015 did a study, and they actually published that nicotine is not addictive. They read 7 million pages of research and development papers from the big tobacco companies since 1970. And they found in the 70s, all the tobacco giants brought in chemists to tell them how to make their products they were selling commercially more addictive. And they learned that these chemists told them, if you add these aroma chemicals made by man called pyrazines, anybody uses your tobacco products, they're going to be super addicted to your products and they're going to keep buying it. Well, the FDA, I've showed the whole world, the FDA has approved currently right now 15 different pyrazine chemicals to be added to every tobacco product on earth to make it addictive. It was never nicotine. It was always these chemicals. But then you should ask yourself, why in the world would the world want to lie to us about nicotine being addictive? Well, it actually had everything to do with COVID-19. And it had everything to do with all the health benefits of the nutrient called nicotine that God put in our plants. So there's many published neurological diseases, inflammatory diseases that are completely cured with nicotine. But if they told you that, they wouldn't be able to sell you the prescription drugs they want to sell you for the rest of their life. So this happens to be the truth, unfortunately.
Can I just only say something around the depression? Because I remember this morning in the UK, of course, I just only jumped on the YouTube and I found lots of beautiful, the video about nicotine, but also there was lots of people just only talking about the nicotine nowadays. But definitely, I found a podcast with somebody else. You've been in that podcast, but also you've been talking about the depression. Can you say something around the depression and nicotine, or also chronic fatigue syndrome? So can we just only cure that two illnesses? I would like to just only pick it up two of them, but it's much more using that nicotine, maybe patches or nicotine.
Absolutely. In fact, for reference here, I'm going to give a bunch of information, but if you'd like to learn more about this,
Yeah.
this nutrient from nature, at thedrartistshow.com, as you see behind me, just write that out without the period. Don't put the period. It's the Dr. Artist Show, just like that.com. If you go to patient resources, it's free. There's actually an entire presentation called The Other N Word, and all
Mm.
the information is in the research studies provided. The whole PowerPoint, it's 383 slides of all the evidence of how nicotine cures all of these conditions I'm about to mention. It is very well known that nicotine in all plants will enhance cognitive function, brain function. It raises your mood. It will take you out of depression, like you mentioned. It'll actually improve memory. It has been published that nicotine alone, whether from tobacco, eggplant, tomatoes, potatoes, it doesn't matter. Nicotine patches or gum, it doesn't matter. Nicotine itself is published to be a curative agent. That means it can cure things and prevent each of these I'm about to name. And if you want to learn more, go to the drartistshow.com and download that presentation. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. Just go. All right. So these are a list of the things they know nicotine cures and prevents: Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes. How amazing
Wow.
is that? Number 5, we'll go to brain tumors. They've actually proven that nicotine alone can dissolve brain tumors in less than 72 hours, called glioblastomas. And I hope your oncologist is actually looking into that. And if they aren't, send them my patient resources tab for the nicotine presentation. They should learn to. Also, it has been found that nicotine is a cure for digestive inflammation disorders that are considered autoimmune diseases like ulcerative colitis and all arthritises.
Wow.
It has also been found to improve the social behavior and psychological behavior of all autistic adults and children if they just wear a 7 milligram nicotine patch between their shoulder blades. And within 7 days, you see these miraculous results. These are just a few of the incredible benefits in that presentation. In fact, out of England, I actually quoted a guy many, many times. I think his name was either Dr. Hitton or Dr. Hilton out of the UK. And he had actually published a statement about the mortality rates of myocarditis in all age groups. And I put up his quote all over the place while I was testifying in Capitol buildings in the United States during COVID-19 after the vaccines came out for COVID, because myocarditis was being determined to be in teenage young boys and girls more. And this is ridiculous. Myocarditis, per Dr. Hitton, I believe his name, Hitton, he actually stated the mortality rate for anybody diagnosed with myocarditis is 2 years, 50% mortality in 5 years for all people. So it's 25% in 2 years, 50% for all people in 5 years. Did you know, anyone out there, that nicotine alone, either in gum form or patch form, has been proven that if you just used it for 3 days, the research studies are in my presentation, by the way, it reverses all myocarditis, heart damage, and scarring in less than 14 days. And if you're seeing a cardiologist for myocarditis after your loved one's been COVID-19 vaccinated, you should ask them, why aren't they recommending nicotine to your loved one or to yourself? Because it's already been proven to reverse myocarditis caused by viruses. They just happen to use the Coxsackie virus to do it. So absolutely, nicotine is a nutrient. It is not a drug. It's a nutrient because it's found in vegetables. It's found in plants. This is not a drug. So it's a drug if you concentrate it and then, I guess, adulterate it with chemicals. But it is absolutely a nutrient, not unlike vitamin C found in every fruit on earth. Nicotine is a nutrient found in most plants and vegetables, including your nightshades. Nightshades actually are the highest amount of nicotine of all foods in a group of foods. So eat your nightshades.
Yeah, so I would like to only add something around this nicotine, because actually on my own and on myself, I just only would like to say, okay, let me just only try it. Let me just only see what's going on. I like to experiment on myself. That's my body, my life anyway. But what I only found as well, we've got the receptors in our brain, we've got the receptors in our body. That's Mother Nature just only gave us, the God gave us. Whatever, like you just only said, you can name it, whatever your belief are. But definitely we've got the receptors in our body. Like there are lots of different beautiful, I would like to say, nature things. I don't want to just only name it now at the moment, but I would like to focus on the nicotine. So I would like to say, after that, when I was taking around the 7 days, then I stopped for a while, and I'm not addictive. I'm not addictive around that stuff. The only thing what's going to happen during that 7 days, I had a lot of vivid dreams. My psychic ability improved a lot. And also my husband anxiety just gone completely because he was like a short, actually out of the breath. And he was like thinking, oh my goodness, what's going on? What's going on? And then after when you came to UK, when we just only met, I was saying, he's saying, okay, let me just go to the shop. Let's go buy it. I told him, let's go buy the organic one, the really clean one, because you never know you're going to take it
Absolutely.
on yourself. But definitely. So I would like to say a big thank you because his
Very
anxiety is
well.
gone.
That's
Oh,
really
he's,
incredible. I've actually had people come to a Los Angeles event where they flew from Alaska just to tell me at my 2-hour presentation that their husband's Parkinson's was cured in 2 weeks after chewing
oh,
nicotine gum every day. And he'd been struggling with this for 6 years. This was just phenomenal. I do want to make mention here, as you talked about depression and anxiety, there are 3 different studies in the presentation at the Dr. Artist Show titled The Other N Word. In fact, on the homepage, if you just log in and scroll down a little bit, you will see The Other N Word listed there, right below a bird flu presentation in The Cure for Bird Flu found in Nature. I just filmed that last week. But you'll see The Other N Word right below there. In that presentation, you're going to see 3 research studies where they proved that schizophrenia, the worst mental illness you can imagine, is cured with nicotine. So, if it can handle schizophrenia, it will improve bipolarism. It should improve manic depression. It should improve anxiety or any depressed states whatsoever, and anxiety and panic attacks. It is an incredible nutrient, and every cell in your brain, every cell in your body, even every cell in your immune system has nicotine receptors. Well, if God designed you and put 12 different nicotine receptors on your body on every single cell, don't you think you were designed to benefit from the nutrient in the plants he told you to eat? I put all this
that's
stuff
true.
here for the benefit of man. Well, go use it. He designed you to do that. It's no different than cannabinoid receptors, cannabis, marijuana plants. Every cell in your body also has cannabinoid receptors. Well, God created these plants. Why did he create these plants with these specific nutrients that our body's designed to grab and use and improve with? Anyway, science is the only one that's going to tell you don't trust nature, only trust our drugs and our vaccines and our surgeries. When in fact, there are some of us like you who have more faith in spirit, source, God, whatever you want to call it. And we have faith in Mother Nature and what it has provided us for health and healing.
Yes, that's right. But I would like to say, don't overuse it. Use it when you need it, not just when you
Oh,
take it for the
absolutely.
fun, because it's not the way like that. If you need it, you can take it. That's just when you take it some dose, but not more
Yes.
than you
And this
need
is
it.
very,
Definitely.
very, very good point. I want everybody to know out there, I have used high concentrations of nicotine. In fact, I bought a $500 bottle of strict nicotine, and I decided to put 1 drop in my ear one day to see what would happen. I was just curious. I won't tell you why I did this. I
Oh
just was
wow.
curious what would happen. I put 1 drop of nicotine in my ear, pushed it into my ear, and within 5 minutes, I was on a tile floor in my bathroom for 4 hours, vomiting and diarrhea. Do not do that. This is a highly concentrated form of nicotine. This would never happen if you ate the vegetables, but if you eat or use concentrated gums, pouches, or patches, I always recommend starting on a very low dose. 1 cigarette has 1 milligram of nicotine. So I tell people if you're going to start with gum, they come with 2 milligrams. You're going to cut it in half and start with 1 milligram of nicotine and chew that. And then wait a few hours, do it again if you want to. My wife chews the nicotine gum every single day. I'm wearing a patch right now and have done it every day for 2 years. What size patch do I wear? I actually buy patches. They come in 7, 14, and 21 milligram sizes. I buy the Rugby brand, which is 21 milligrams is what I buy. And I cut it into 7 equal pieces, which equals 3 milligrams a day. And I just put 1 on every single day. I do about 3 milligrams. I've never been nauseous, never been vomiting, never been sick, ever using 3 milligram nicotine patches or lower or 1 milligram nicotine gum. But if you try the gum or try a concentrated pouch that you're going to suck on of nicotine or a patch, always know nicotine is an incredible detoxifier of poisons and venoms and spike proteins of COVID. So when you put a lot of this nutrient into your body at once, you're going to detox and release a whole bunch of poisons and venoms you've been accumulating your whole life. And when those dump into your intestines within 20 minutes, guess how you're going to feel? The exact same way God designed your body. If there's a poison present in the intestines, you're designed to diarrhea it out or throw it up. And this is why you feel those symptoms. So I prefer doing it slower. Start with 1 to 3 milligrams a day. I prefer 1 milligram patches for a week and then going to 3 milligrams. If you want to know how to use patches or gums or pouches correctly, the way I recommend, at the Dr. Ardis Show under Patient Resources tab is on the second row. It's called nicotine.pdf. It actually explains to you how to use nicotine gum, patches, or pouches to prevent disease, treat diseases, and specifically long hauler COVID symptoms. It's all there laid out for you.
Wow. You're reading in my mind. So I don't have to ask you the question because you answered the question already. I was like, I
Good.
say, oh, his answer again.
Very
So
good.
that's happening all the time with me during the podcast. So sometimes I don't have to say anything because I'm just only sending you telepathically my messages
you are.
from my head straight
I
away.
100% believe it.
Yeah, so that's kind of the things. But I would like to just only ask you as well, because we've been talking about the depression, we've been talking about the nicotine, and you just only answer that question around the, I would like to, how can I say, that illness which just came 2020 anyway. So that'll be also a way out, just using the nicotine patches. But also when you go outside and you are around the people who had that beautiful, I don't know, they poison their own body straight away. So we need to prevent ourselves as well, because we need to look after our mind, body, and spirit, because we are not here to save everyone. We need to just only save the people who really need that support, who really need that, I would like to say, hands? I don't know. Let's go, keep it like that. Another question, and that could be the last question because I know you have to go. And that question, I would like to just, that's completely outside of this topic. No
Sure.
nicotine, nothing like that. I'll be around the chiropractic stuff because I found the video about you, 2017, and you looks completely different. You didn't have a word, you just only was like, oh my goodness. And you've been talking around your child, when your child was born and had a really issue around the sleeping. So because that stuff is like I don't want to separate when you're going to the doctor and the doctor is separating mind, body, spirit, and they're looking after the only body and they're not looking after the another aspects of you. So would you mind just only say a little bit around it? How is that the people can cope with that?
I'm not really sure on the question, but I think I will be able to answer it. You're going to telepathically send me what it is you want to know. All right, so here we go. Let's see if I can answer it.
Okay,
All right,
let's see.
so yes, there are some videos of me in 2017. It's really interesting. I actually retired in 2018 and then started doing a lot of bodybuilding and lots of stuff with these friends of mine. And so my body has changed quite a bit since 2017. I was very, very skinny. I didn't have any facial hair and anyway, grown up quite a bit since then. It's pretty interesting.
No
But
glasses.
yes, I'm
On
glad you
that
watched it.
video, there wasn't the glasses or anything like that.
That's funny. I think I had a movie producer who was my patient, and he asked me to film some testimonials, and he made me take off my glasses because of the lighting. He didn't want to see it reflecting. But I've always worn glasses every day. I've never not worn glasses since I was 18 years old. But yes, I'm glad you found that video. Actually, that video telling the story about my son was what every single person had to listen to before my first exam, because I wanted everybody who came to my practice to know why I was a chiropractor and not an MD. So that story will tell you I passed the MCATs. I was actually accepted to go to medical school in 2001. And there's a reason why I did not go. And it had everything to do with an experience with a chiropractor with my 4-month-old son. And my only kid at the time. I mentioned here at the beginning, I have 5 kids. My son, my oldest, was so sick and so unwell and vomited everything he ate, never had a bowel movement for 4.5 months, never slept for more than 15 minutes ever since birth, and screamed at the top of his lungs every single day. In fact, it's the same son I mentioned is in a room next door. He's actually talking to his girlfriend who's in London right now, Kensington. All right, so this kid 9 different pediatricians in the medical profession, $35,000 in medical tests, 4 drugs, and only a side effect of grand mal seizures at 4 months old from one of those drugs. And then I was blamed by the MD for the seizure when I called them for help. And he said, I must have shaken my baby or dropped my baby to cause the seizure. That drug I gave you would have never done it. Well, it was the only time I gave the drug to him, and he was nursing at the time. I wasn't even touching the kid. So I put it in its mouth while it's nursing. Within 2 minutes, went into a grand mal seizure. But the threat to the MD for the liability I exposed is what he was most worried about. And what I was most worried about was my kid. I wanted to know, what do I do to help him? And he never offered any help. He just blamed me. We call that gaslighting in the medical profession, when a doctor blames
Mhm.
you for your problems and doesn't even accept any responsibility or want to give you help. So that was my experience then. It was the last time I was going to listen to an MD gaslight me ever again. And 2 weeks after this seizure, my son was actually adjusted by a chiropractor when I was having a shoulder worked on that I dislocated while playing football at the college I was at. I dislocated my shoulder, and I was referred to a physical therapist that I thought was a physical therapist. It ended up being a chiropractor. And on the second visit, he asked me to bring my screaming kid from the waiting room into the room. And he wanted me to put my kid on the table I was just on, the treatment table. And I said, why would I put my kid on that table? What's a physical therapist going to do to him? And he looked at me and said, I'm not a physical therapist. I'm a chiropractor. Now, this was the very first time I'd ever even heard this word. Never even knew what it was. I said, I don't even know what that is. And he goes, well, if you'll put your kid down, I'll tell you. I'll actually check the spine in this kid. We are specialists in the spinal column, making sure the nervous system is healthy and flowing, because from universe, spirit to your brain, it's got to travel down your spinal cord and get to all the rest of your organs. This is how you stay connected. Well, if you're misaligned or you are drugged, you cannot connect spiritually to people. They are numbing and destroying your ability to connect to source, God, spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it. I'm telling you, this is the efforts they're going through and the links they're going to make sure you do not connect to source and only trust us with science and our drugs. So this guy, I put the kid on the table. He actually adjusts his neck. But before he does that, he looks at me and says, Dr. Artis, you got to tell me, was your kid born with forceps or vacuum extraction? And I said, how would you know either one of those? And he said, well, the first vertebrae in his neck is out of alignment. It's rotated out about 20 degrees from where it's supposed to be, and it's pinching on the muscles and nerves in his neck. And those nerves control his digestion. I bet he's not pooping normally, and I bet he throws up all the time. I bet he's colicky, and I bet he's screaming all the time, but it's pressing on nerves, and he's in a lot of pain. I bet he doesn't sleep through the night, and he probably screams like this 24/7. Yep, that's been my story for the last 4.5 months since he was born. This guy made one adjustment. Within 5 minutes, everything changed. He fell asleep for the first time ever, 8 hours straight. Woke up, nursed, went back to sleep for 5 hours with a poopy diaper. He never once had pooped on his own. I had to stick my little finger up his rear end to make a bowel movement every single day. This is how my 4.5 months of new parenthood was. This chiropractor had adjusted the vertebrae in the neck, put it back in its proper alignment, took the pressure off the cranial nerves that are connected to the brain and the rest of the body, and his whole body could breathe and relax and sleep for the first time in 4.5 months. I was waiting to go into med school at this point in my senior year of college, my senior year of university. When this guy adjusted my kid, I had to know 2 weeks later where he went to med school. I actually called him and asked him, what medical school did you go to learn chiropractic? And he said, I didn't go to medical school. It's its own profession. They have their own schools throughout the United States. I asked him where he went. He called the president of that school. He called me a couple hours later, and within 2 weeks, I dropped my enrollment to medical school, went to chiropractic school, wanted to know anything and everything about healing, how the human body really is designed, because I didn't want to drug my children anymore. I didn't want to drug my family anymore. I wanted to know, what is the underlying cause for disease symptoms, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual. I wanted to know, how can we actually address these common issues? And I've learned so much from acupuncture school, chiropractic school, and then becoming a nutritionalist, and then applying those principles to people from around the world who were told they could never be cured of a problem. They can only take drugs for the rest of their life. That is not true. You're being lied to all the time. The lies are being told to you so you will buy into the drugs they are selling you. So I'm just telling you right now, think of any condition on earth. I was told my daughter had asthma, would have asthma the rest of her life. No, she didn't. It took 1 day after having 10 to 12 asthma attacks every day for 2.5 years since she was born. Her name is Savannah. 2.5 years of drugs, nebulizers, albuterol inhalers with asthma. I was told by every doctor medically that you could never cure that. Well, it was really stressful. It hurt my spirit to watch my daughter struggle to breathe as an infant up to 2.5 years old. And I went to 9 different pediatricians. I asked every single one to their face, can you cure my daughter of asthma? Every single one of them said the same thing. If I would be a millionaire if I cured asthma. Okay, great. Well, go be a millionaire and go cure asthma. But none of them had an answer for me. When I actually came across a spiritual healer who could do muscle testing, applied kinesiology, this individual actually figured out in 1 minute, this kid was 2.5 years old, what was wrong with my daughter. And it was a side effect to a drug they gave her when she was born premature in a hospital. It damaged her heart muscle and caused her to have breathing problems for the next 2.5 years. But the doctors in the hospital told me the day she was born, she would have asthma for the rest of her life. And I looked at them and I said, that's not true for my daughter. I'm not owning that. I believe God can heal all things. I'm not going to succumb to your sorcery, is actually how I saw it. So 2.5 years of suffering and struggling. One day after this lady, a very spiritually gifted healer, put her hands on my daughter and told me my daughter had a heart problem caused by a drug side effect. If you'll just give her this one supplement made from the food of the plants on this earth, you will see in the next 2 months, she told me, you'll see in the next 2 months, she'll be totally cured. And then you're going to want to know how I did this. And you're going to want to come find me because you can help me help more people around the world. Overnight, 1 tablet of this supplement. Never again did she have another wheeze, another cough, another asthma attack. The next day, never again. Never again. She's now 20 years old. It has never happened again. She took this one supplement for 1 year to heal and repair the heart slowly every day. And at the end of 3 years, being 3 years old, so 1 year later, she came off that supplement. She's never taken it again. She's never had an asthma attack, a wheeze. She's a volleyball competitive player. She's in choir. She's advanced choir. She's singing all the time, hikes in mountains with us all the time. Never has had an inhaler on her ever that she is aware of. She was only 2 years old when this all happened. She's never remembered what it was like to have asthma, but this was the blessing. This lifted a lot of stress and anxiety on us as parents. It lifted a bunch of worry and grief on our child who was struggling to breathe. What we were told by the medical profession, it cannot be cured. You're being lied to if you're being told that they can't. You're also being told the truth because medical professionals are actually taught in med school, you can't cure any diseases. So when they come out, they actually believe this. You can't cure anything. So they're just repeating the lie they were told in school. They have horrible training and very little faith in God and very little faith in the spiritual, emotional, and physical aspect of life that is your life. And if you can stay more grounded, have more faith in nature, if you can actually center yourself and spend time with God and yourself and go within yourself, meditate, pray, do breathing exercises every day, you're going to see a monumental shift in your experience you call your human existence. I have benefited from learning all of this from people around the world, studying, learning, sitting at the foot of people I see as experts in their field of healing. I have sit at many feet of many spiritual leaders and gurus around the world. They call them gurus for a reason. And I have actually benefited from every little bit they have taught me, every single one of them. I've learned stuff from you today, which is great. I've learned that this has helped actually increase your psychic abilities, even with the benefit of this nutrient called nicotine. I haven't anybody relate that to me. However, alpha-7 nicotine receptors in the brain increase the ability of you to communicate and receive information. So, and listening and hearing, how would this not improve your psychic ability universally? It absolutely would. In fact, I learned today, an hour before coming on this show, that nicotine increases the release in your brain of a substance, a hormone called GLP-1 hormone. Now, this is amazing. No one has ever interviewed me about this. You're the first person I'm telling this to, so I might as well tell the audiences if there's a bunch of them in Europe. There are drugs going around Europe right now called Zepbound, Zepbound. It's a once-a-week injection for weight loss and diabetes. You're injecting yourself with Gila monster lizard venom once a week. And that venom, they're not telling you it's venom, but it is venom. The venom protein is called Exendin-4. It is not a GLP-1 drug like they tell you, but this venom, when you inject it inside of yourself voluntarily, all by yourself, once a week for life, as it's prescribed, this venom makes your body release GLP-1 hormone. Did you know that there are studies where they took those drugs, these venoms, injected them into humans, and they wouldn't lose weight? They wouldn't produce GLP-1 hormone. So then they started adding nicotine to the treatment, and they saw more GLP-1 hormone kick up. Blood sugar started going down. Weight loss started going up because they were losing weight. When the venom itself wasn't doing it, they found nicotine alone would do it. And this should now make sense to all of you. Why it is the King of England gave a speech last year and said, anyone born in the UK after January 1st, 2009 will never be able to buy any nicotine or tobacco product ever. And then why it was introduced that by the year 2030, all tobacco and nicotine products will be eradicated commercially from your access. You might want to start getting some tobacco seeds, growing your own tobacco, because nicotine's an antidote to a whole lot of stuff, and they know it. But drug companies pretty much own the world and run the world. So they're owning the governments, owning the politicians, and they're telling them to get this out of the way so we can keep selling Parkinson's, MS, ulcerative colitis, arthritis drugs, brain cancer treatments, right? Radiation, chemotherapy, and surgery. If you knew nicotine was a cure for brain surgery and brain tumors, oh my God, what a loss of billions and billions of dollars every year to the cancer industry. So these are the reasons they have to get nicotine out of the way. The other reason, I've actually found and figured out that every single virus known to man is beaten with nicotine. Influenza, common cold virus, rabies, HIV, polio, they all are beaten with nicotine. If you want to get rid of the flu season in your family and in your community, start having everybody wear a 3 milligram nicotine patch like I do. I'm going to make sure I never succumb to any of these viruses ever again. So this is the reason why it has been so monumental for me to make sure you guys knew the truth, because there are agents around the world who are trying to keep the truth hidden from you, which means they don't care if you're sick, suffering, or die. They don't care about that stuff as long as they can make money off of you and sell you their drugs. No, God gave you the nutrients you need. Put your more faith in God and nutrition than you do in science and what they create in a lab or tell you to inject yourself. This is some of those truths you probably should know. Anyway, I hope that was a good answer to your question.
Oh yeah, that was much more than what I was expecting. But definitely at the beginning, yeah, that was like I sent everything telepathically to you. Yes, I know you need to go.
I do.
I've got a lot of questions now. I'm just saying, oh, this one. I would like to share. Oh, anyway, so thank you so much.
We can do it again.
Yeah, that would be great, because I have got a lot of things in my head, because I would like to share also with the audience, with my daughter, when she had the eczema, and also I found a beautiful spiritual healer, and he just only cured her from that eczema because she had that kind of the things when she born. And anyway, that's amazing time, and thank you so much for sharing this information with my audience. And definitely this video will be translated by Polish language for my Polish audience as well on the different YouTube, because the Polish people just a little bit shut down, I would like to say, but we need to spread much more. So the English people in the UK, that's mostly in the States, my audience is now at the moment, but definitely in the Poland, the people will be watching my video, this podcast as well. So yeah, that would be a spreading.
Well, I would like to say hello to all the people in Poland and all those who speak Polish. All right, so Poland, there's been a lot of videos that have been circulating around Poland from two girls in the United States that go by the Resistance Chicks is their name. 4 years ago, I did an interview with them, and they had 10 million views in Poland when they posted this video. And I was just rattling off all kinds of natural cures for every disease on earth in the very beginning of COVID. And they just happened to be standing in a hallway and were like, hey, can we do an interview? And it had 10 million views in Poland. I hope you guys have seen those. If you haven't seen them, go look up the Resistance Chicks and watch that video. You might learn a whole lot from that 45-minute interview. It was pretty awesome.
Good. So thank you so much. Yes. Yes, if you've got the time next time, yeah, we're going to schedule next time, and that will be great as well. I wish you all the best.
Well, I love you. I'm grateful for you. And thank you all who are listening and took the time to listen to this. It's been a lot of effort and time to make sure you knew the truth and knew how to apply that truth. I did not invent nicotine. I don't even sell nicotine. I don't have a nicotine product. Other companies have that stuff. I don't need to worry about it. I just want you to know the truth, because the truth will set you free from symptoms that otherwise you don't have to suffer from. So that is my blessing and my hope and prayer for you, that you find benefit from the truths we share, the research we provide. That is the only reason I do what I do. Anyway, God bless you. We love you. And thank you very much.
Thank you.